Hi, welcome to Museum
Hello.
Jewelry. I'm Dolores. That's Daniel from Tackyisme and I.
Hi. I'm
And
here.
so there's only two of us right now, probably me and you.
That's fine. We're going to talk whether you like it or
Oh, there's
not.
only one now. You left.
I know. This YouTube stuff in their accounts, and
Yeah,
it's a bunch of baloney because
not
according
baloney.
according to them, I'm once again just losing subscribers left and right, just bleeding out again.
Really? That's so
I don't
bizarre.
believe their counts. I just don't get
I
it
don't
because
no,
then it'll
I
go
don't
back
understand it.
up and then I'll bleed out again, which, I mean, if it's really is happening, whatever. I mean, if people
Right.
have better things to do, then good for you.
We don't.
Yeah, I know. I'm still gonna be here. Even if I have Dolores as my one subscriber.
I, I will be, I ain't going nowhere, child. I can't get rid of it that easy. If you hear a bunch of bells, that's the cat chasing the ball. Of course, she decided, hmm, about 3 minutes before we went on live, she's going to chase the ball now. Yeah, I could take it off her, but that'd be kind
I
of mean.
understand that totally, Lola.
When you find a ball, hang on to it.
Jingle, jingle, jingle.
Hey, Angela, thanks for popping in. Um,
Hey, we have one viewer. Woohoo!
uh, I I sent her a little surprise. She knows what it is, so it's not that big of a surprise. Hey, Lena. It's going to the loo. Thanks
Hey,
for sharing.
skip to my loo, my darling.
Yeah, that's probably what it meant. The original version. Hey, Lemmy. So, Daniel, how's the weather where you are? Because we have to do the weather report.
Oh, see, Lemmy just popped on for me.
Yes, she did. She loves this
Hello,
adventure.
Lemmy. The weather has been absolutely glorious. It really has been for fall. It rained this morning and then stopped. It rained early and then stopped, and the sun is now shining. It's going to get
Oh, yeah.
a bit nippy, and I'm unsure. I don't want to light the furnace yet because I don't want to blow up, and also it's hard. And uh, then it's going to warm up again. So I really don't
Mm,
want the furnace because with my furnace, it's not like these new gas furnaces stuff. It's an old, that you can back your butt up to and stuff. But the pilot light stays on all the time. So
right.
it produces heat constantly. So if it gets warm, then the house
Warm.
gets
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah, you don't want
So
that. You want to
but
waste all that gas anyway,
I
because,
know, but I'm gonna have this freaking space heater on, and the electricity is gonna be outrageous
yeah,
too.
it's,
I've been
so, yeah.
running the space heater for the last week, and I'm
Oh,
sure my
Lord.
bill's gonna be like. But anyways, other than that, it's been sunny and beautiful fall weather. The trees are starting to turn, and I imagine after these next 2 nights, they're really gonna
Mm.
turn. Hey, Sheila,
Hey, hey, Sheila. Yeah, it's been yesterday it rained really, really hard. It was cold and windy. It was a typical autumn day in the UK. Today it was lovely. It was sunny, nice cool breeze. That's the cat. Um, she's out mad. She's gonna do this the whole hour. I can feel it.
you need a studio.
It's just- hey, Bree, I can't take the ball off her. That's just raw. I can't. I gotta let her.
It's
I
just
gotta let her
gonna
be
let
her.
her jingle jangle everywhere.
I just gotta let her be her. And but today it was lovely, sunny, cool, light breeze, high of 61, and the leaves here have started changing. Beautiful. Oh, my drive home from work, man, it's just lovely. I live in the countryside anyway, in Derbyshire, so I get a lot of nice views just driving to work and stuff. Very nice. It's 20 degrees warmer than the first time in a week. And it hasn't rained. Gosh, Sheila. Well, it's rained here, but we've kind of needed it. It's because of the, drought we had in the summer.
We're very dry. The amount
Mm,
of rain that we got this morning wasn't anything. I mean,
yeah.
I could go out and mow right now and it'd be fine.
I mean, yeah, it shut it down yesterday. Like it did not stop.
I have been very happy with it because I haven't had to mow.
Right. Yeah, because as it rains.
It makes me all happy, and I probably need to go out and mow before it starts getting big again.
Oh, Angela says her leaves are changing. I didn't, off topic, but when I lived back in Houston, that never happened. They went from green, 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 and then one day they all fell off the tree. That was, that was it. Here, oh man, the color. I mean, they're not as great as New England, which is where I'm going to live one day. Um, but when I'm not now, but way later. Uh, but they start to change here, and they're just absolutely stunning. They really are. Oh, it's really pretty. So
You're not going
we
to
have
stay
enough.
in England till you're
I'm
dead.
gonna. I'm probably gonna swap it for New England.
Mm. See how you are. I'm going to get over there, and then you're going to
Look,
go,
I'll set you
sorry,
up here.
I'm leaving. Bye bye.
Look, it's just a pipe dream. I don't think I'll probably ever live in New
Bye
England, but
bye. Whoever buys this shed, talk to him.
you have a renter in here. He comes with the house. Um, hey Sally. Uh, so today, oh hey H Welch, fall colors there too in Canada. Yep. Uh, oh, I love it. I do love autumn. It is my favorite time of year, as we all know. As I haven't mentioned 10,000
Theirs
times
is a lot
before.
more change than ours here because we haven't quite
Yeah.
had the cold enough. But I've
Mm.
seen, I follow some Canadian YouTubers. What's their name? Todd and Tyler, and they're up, I think they're in Nova Scotia, and
Okay.
their leaves are really starting to change on their videos and stuff.
Mm. Beautiful. It's a great time of
I
year.
know. I want to go to New England, and there's
We should go together.
supposedly some highway that you can travel all through several states in New England, and it has a bunch of bed and breakfast. At least this was in the 90s. I remember them talking about in the 90s, and you could stay in bed and breakfast along the way. Now, a lot has probably changed since then. So,
We can go stay with Helen. Helen Booty. I mean, we have to ask her first.
do you have a shed, Helen?
But she said I could come, so I'm sure she'll mind if I bring you.
She'll never know.
Or we can see the
I'll put on
cafe.
my red wig, and we'll just
We'll
you'll
just
appear
swap
once, and
out.
I'll appear once.
Like I do with my cat.
Girl, sorry, I was in the bathroom so long.
A child.
Oh no, you didn't.
I love how you take the piss out of me. Right. So today we're not talking about moving with to Helen Moody's house, and we're not talking about autumn. We, what we are talking about is my volume too. I feel like I have an echo. Hopefully, let me just turn my.
Hard episode.
Oh, I used to love that show. So what we're here to talk about today is something quite old and quite scary.
Me.
No,
Oh,
not you, or it's not a Tory party either. It is because they're all old and scary. It is fairy tales. We're going to talk about fairy tales and why they're so dark and creepy and scary. I remember as a child, my mama reading me. Now, I didn't mind stuff like Three Little Kids lost their mittens and all that, but she started reading me these other fairy tales, and I was like, woman? Like, even as a child, I didn't know the word ominous, but I just thought, these are
undisneyfied versions.
well, oh yeah, right. And it was like it was a Grimm fairy tales, fables, whatever. And she would read them to me, and I was just like, "Is she trying to scare the poop out of me?" Because it's working. But and that's the thing. Obviously, and like we said, uh, they're not. They've been sanitized a lot by Disney and all the other. Well, I think Disney's the only one who does. So. Um, Yeah, they are deep and dark, Sally. They are. And I was like, why? Why would you tell children that? Well, or why would you read those to children? Well, come to find out, they weren't really originally for children. They weren't. They were not. They were actually like, tales handed down, like by different generations, different cultures, to almost like to heed warnings, like to heed warnings about life. Like bad crap's going to happen. You need to be prepared. Let me tell you this story, you know. So Baba Yaga, the collector of tales of Russian man, and oh yes, I know, yes, and I read about a little bit about that, um, and they are dark because why? Human existence is dark. A lot of it can be very dark, and I just from what I've researched and read that, um, because I always wondered why the heck would you tell kids like, you gonna be, look, I'm sure these warnings. I'm sure it was probably a good idea to warn me about going to a house made of candy. It was probably not a good idea. There probably wasn't someone friendly living there. Told me to, watch out if all of a sudden my grandma looks like a wolf. I might want to question that. You know, those kind of warnings.
Well, they've always used I mean, even ancient, they've always used stories to try to scare children into doing what they want them to do.
Correct, 100%. But it's not just children. The thing is, they were kind of made for. They were kind of just stories handed down, so they weren't necessarily for children. Hey, Monica, girl, hey. Um, don't go to the forest, kids. Don't go to the forest. Don't go to the house made of candy. Don't talk to the wolf dressed like your grandma, because these are all issues. These are all going to be problematic later down the line. Um, old ladies have chin hair. Well, I mean, that's acceptable. But when your grandma's whole face is covered with fur, that might be a problem. So, yeah, grandma, did you wax today? But and I think a lot of it is, because becoming an adult and surviving, adulthood, and it's just difficult, and it's kind of a universal human experience. So, what better way to prepare people, in kind of in a sense, like, well, let me tell you. I'm gonna tell you the story that your grandpappy told me, and his grandpappy told him, and to tell you to warn you of, all the yeah, like Santa watches you exactly.
Well, and let's remember that was entertainment. You sat around the fire where you were cooking, and that was your entertainment as your elders started telling stories.
Right, and they're all well, not all of them, but a lot of them are like the cautionary tales. Like you need to like if it's too good to be true, it probably is, and if it points out the truth that nothing we desire is owed to us. Like nothing that and if we do get these wonderful things that we have desired and hoped for, there's actually a price. There's a price. There's a price to pay for it. Whether it means you have to marry a beast or you have to, kiss a frog or whatever the thing you have, there's going to be a price to pay. And I think these stories kind of tell you that. They kind of go, well, you can have all these nice things and you can do all these wonderful things, but there's a price. And um, uh, I think it's just, and I'm sure like they were cautionary tales. And remember, they're handed down they're not like new. They're handed down from centuries ago when life was pretty harsh, day to day. I mean, if you lived to be 35, you were doing good. You know,
That
you were
was all
like,
right.
wow, I'm 35. Woo, I'm an old person
Yeah.
because life was so hard. And I just, you know, it's just and I think that's a lot why they they probably where they originated, where they passed down from, I mean, centuries ago. Cinderella was actually a story told back in Egypt, and the Chinese had their own version of it, and so these tales go back very far. Now, obviously, they've been like birds twerping and singing and cleaning your house for you, and and there's always like good and evil, good and it's that's kind of how they were, like the good person and then the evil people.
Well, and that's like you think of the story of Cinderella, you think of Disney. But if you read the story, her stepmom was a and her stepsisters. I mean,
Yeah,
she was with her dad who loved her and everything, and then he died, and then the stepmom's like, and forced her to clean out, like the fireplaces and stuff. That's why she was called Cinderella, because she was dirty constantly from having to clean out the fireplaces, and they made her live in the kitchen. They didn't even give her, and I mean, all that stuff. It just was a lot different than your Disney version of Cinderella.
right.
I mean, it kind
Uh,
of went along the lines, but when you read it, it's a lot darker.
Dark. And there was some really dark ones that Disney has yet to sanitize. And they're so dark, there ain't no way they're gonna take most of the story out. Yeah, H. Wells, kids were farm help, so you wanted them not to run away. True story. Like, you go outside this farm, bad things gonna happen. If I stay here and work the farm. Yeah, um that makes sense. That makes sense that you try to keep the people close to you so you have all the help and all that.
And there's stories in the Grimm stories that I'd never even heard. I haven't read them in a long, long time, but when I read them, I'm like, I've never heard some of these, and wow. But my favorite, not favorite, but the one I think of the most that you always hear the story told, but it's really a gruesome story, and that's Hansel and Gretel.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, it is. So they go out, they get lost, they can't find their way, and then this old lady, sweet, wants to cannibalize them. She wants
Right.
to cook them and cannibalize them. And then, in the midst of them trying to get away and stuff, the kids kill the woman by burning her up in the oven. I mean,
I
it's very violent,
mean, at least I didn't eat her.
very violent story. It's really quite disturbing.
Again, and uh, I just thought they came across her house was made of candy. So you would have me there. You would have already kidnapped me if your house was made of candy. I'd have been like, oh, a candy house? I'm in. And then I'd have been gone in the oven. She'd ate me. She had a good meal, let me tell you what, but she'd ate me. I'd have been got.
I'd probably be like,
Um,
oh, this is dirty. There's bird poop in this.
to brush that off, that'd be fine. Look at 5 second rule.
Yeah, that was the other thing, and made them fatten them up, put them in a cage, feed them more candy to fatten them up.
I know. It's like you're not gonna taste nothing like nothing but a peppermint drop at this point, lady, right? Like I'm not gonna taste very good when she eat me. So Sally says, stepmother made father get rid of them. That's right. That is. It's so long ago since I've read any of these stories that you know, right. Yeah, left in the woods to die. That's right. It's all coming back to you. It's washing over me now, and I'm scared again. Those stories were bad. Um, yeah, exactly. The visuals that your imagination is probably more scary than the actual real. I mean, there's scary stuff out there. Don't get me wrong, but when someone tells you a story and your imagination interprets it, it's like far worse than you'll make it in your mind something so horrible that that's enough to keep you on the farm. You know what I mean? Like I stayed on the farm, I'm good. So yeah. Um, and it's kind of like it's just like I said, cautionary tales. It's maybe to scare them, instill morals in them, teach them not to talk to strangers, all the things. Um, not to wander off alone, not to escape the farm. Be aware of your surroundings. I mean, to be fair, these warnings are still. I mean, they echo today. They're just told in a different way, and they're told in a way to children. I mean, most adults could take that advice too. To teach children early on. And there's a not a debate, but there was talk about like, are we sanitizing these warnings too much for kids? Because you don't want to traumatize a child. At the same time, are we making it almost you know fantasy like? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, are we sanitizing it to the point where it's like, well, it all works out happy in the end? Because that's not true. That's not how my life works, you know. So, you know what I mean? Like, house on chicken legs that runs through the forest and chases you. Oh my God.
I don't know that one.
Oh, what? Well, I mean, I've had my mother would tell us stories, and they stuck with me. Children are traumatizing us now. They're all on TikTok.
Well, here's the oh, I thought Baba Yaga or whatever that is, and I'm just knowing this from the Marvel thing. I thought it was some creature. I didn't know it was a chicken house.
Chicken Chicken Ranch. Oh, wait, that's a whole different story. And yeah, to this day, H. Welch is still traumatized by the story. And that's the thing. My mother told us we used to, and I think I said this before, we used to sit outside at night in my neighborhood before we had street lights. That's how old I am. And we got them, but eventually we got the street lights. But we would sit on the front lawn in the dark with just a porch light on, sitting on the grass, and she'd tell us the story about the Latusa bird. And that to this day sticks with me. If I hear anything that squawks, I'm like, what's that? Because the Latusa bird freaked me out. That was like the scariest tale. And to this day, even when I tell it, I kind of go, I kind of get a little shiver when I tell it to anybody because Latusa bird was no joke, y'all. Latusa bird meant business. So yeah, it was a pretty scary tale. But I mean, maybe they were for kids as well. I mean, I think they were for everybody. I think you know like I said, the life experiences of kids back in the olden days, or centuries ago, was probably not like it is today. It's not probably the. I mean, at the time they thought it was a pleasant experience, but if you compare it to now, we would think it wasn't a very pleasant existence to live because we're so coddled and we're so used to what we're used to. And you know what I
Well,
mean?
to stop and think, kids way, especially in ancient times, didn't have a whole lot of time to be kids. I mean, you ended up
Correct.
working and whatever else was going on, and so I mean, they used to kids used to get married at 13 and 12 and
Mm,
way back when, so there wasn't when they told these stories, it was just like they were telling them to everybody, whether they were children or not.
hey, Gosha. Um, yeah, it's just and you have to understand they probably witnessed a hell of a lot of you know sadness, death, sickness. So these were you know things that they saw all the time, and so I think because they saw this, if you were going to give them a cautionary tale, you better make it good because they've already seen death, pestilence, hard work, sickness. Hey, Jan. Um, you know what I mean? So they've already witnessed a lot of this stuff, tragedies, horror. So like, right, you've seen this. Let me make something really, really scary. So because you've seen all this, you're you're used to this. Let me make it far worse. And that's kind of what that's just my opinion of it. I don't know how true that is, but
Well,
sorry,
and
Dana.
you don't think about it nowadays what the history of everything is. Like what Sheila's saying, Ring Around the Rosie was about the plague.
Yes,
And that's a
exactly.
game that every kid has played. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah, we played. Yeah, of course, and it's stuff like that. So I mean, like Three Blind Mice. That's pretty. I mean, chopping off tails of mice, girl. Like, get an exterminator.
Well, even with like the Disney tales, which are just washed up versions of um, the older tales, but like Sleeping Beauty. I mean,
Mm,
unless I'm wrong, from what I can remember from, I think like the book part, maybe, I don't know. We all know how my memory is. So, but they thought she was actually dead, and I think they put her in a glass coffin and set her up there for when the prince found her. I believe that's what it was in the story. It wasn't in
right.
like Disney, but maybe if somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I was thinking they put her in a glass coffin.
Yeah. Hi, Cassie. Um, yeah. How would so Sally wants to know? I often wonder how people from different periods would react to today. They would think we were a bunch of punks. They would be like, "What the heck's wrong with you? What do you mean you can't handle your Amazon don't work or you can't get your package tomorrow? What? I had to go to town on a mule and get my supplies." So they think we were pretty punks. They were a bunch of I just think they're like a bunch of punks. And it's funny you talked about the Sleeping Beauty waiting for the prince, and that's the thing. And of course we're talking centuries ago when roles were different, and I'm like, do I really need a person to slow my shit down? Come on. Do you really need one? Do I really need a person to do that? Do I? But back then, obviously, you know, like fairy tales. I mean, by today's standards, they're misogynist. Just saying. Just saying. They are. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is by today's standards, like by what the things we know now and the way women are now, we'd be like, why are you disturbing my sleep, sir? I'm trying to sleep over here. I'm in a deep sleep and you'll come over here and kiss on me? You woke me up. That's how I'd be. Yeah, I get up early in the morning. Don't be waking me up, sir. You know what I'm saying? And and like you said, you're gonna save me from the tower because I'm trapped up here. You can save me from my horrible family. But that's you
Save
know,
me from the tower by throwing your hair down, and I'm going to yank
right.
on it as I climb up the tower.
Yeah, really. Just, I mean, you're not messing with my weave. Don't be
I'm going
climbing
to
up this
rescue
hair.
you. I don't care how painful it's going to be.
No, I'm going to use your hair to rescue you. It's like, see, there's a flaw in your logic there, sir. But and it was reinforcing, what was considered appropriate roles for women. That's all it was. And so women knew their place, and women's only escape was to marry someone with money, marry someone just to get out, and that was a lot, and that happened up till like probably 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Women don't, people saying, well, if you got married and left, you could start, and they probably thought this, and because that was instilled in them that the only way you're going to get out of this situation if you marry somebody and leave, or marry a prince, or marry a frog who turns into a prince, or marry a really hairy guy who's got a castle who lives by himself. That's a red flag.
Ooh, hello.
How you
Just
doing?
saying. I like your castle.
I like your furry back, sir. I mean,
Shave on my castle.
um,
It's okay.
you know. So do good, be sweet, young lady, and you'll get a prince. I mean, I don't see many fairy tales with princes just sorting their own shit out. You know what I mean? I'm gonna need, yeah, I'm gonna need a story of the princess sorting their own stuff out, going, I don't need you, get off my hair, don't wake me up when I'm sleeping, leave me alone. I got this. you know. But again, that's the sign of the times. That was what they were. That's how it
Well, and
was.
that's the thing about um, lightening up with the modern fairy tales. That has also then in turn because they usually end in these romantic, beautiful weddings and stuff. And now a lot, maybe not so nowadays, but a little bit before, young ladies had in their head that that was their romantic destination. That's what they need to get to, is that beautiful wedding and this fairy tale wedding, and everything was going to be perfect and stuff. People need to be taught it is hard to live with somebody else, and you can save that damn money and put it on a house, because all that stuff is going to be gone in one day, and it's over, and all that money has went to hopefully nothing, when
Yeah,
it could be going to a house or a car or stuff like that. So that part of it is a little hard too, because it builds up a fantasy in your head that you think is going to be reality. And I
right.
shouldn't be speaking because I'm not married, I don't know crap.
No, but I mean, you probably had friends who were like, "Oh my
I
God,
have
I cannot live."
watched a lot of stuff go on.
Yeah, princess still live with their mothers. Yeah, that's also a red flag. You might want to. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Holy moly, The Wizard of Oz, talking trees, flying monkeys, the witch. She still scares me to this day. Margaret Hamilton still raises the hair on my. See, again, these.
Jan, Jan, but as I talked about before, even that movie, whitewashed, not whitewashed, made it seem better, because you read those books and the lion kills people, the Tin Man kills people.
Mhm.
There's all kinds of harm trying to be done constantly. The book is a lot darker than what the movie is.
Yeah, and this is again, you read these stories, and if you read the completely unsanitized version of it, you're like, oh my God, you're like, and a lot of times, and like, yeah, like Sally was, uh, Sally happily ever after. Yeah, it's not, and to that degree, that part of the fairy tale is like, why are you lying to these people? Why are you lying to these people? It ain't. Everybody gonna have issues, you know. And not that it won't be happy. It's just like it doesn't just once you're married, that's it. Everything you're done now. You're good. You can just you know gain a bunch of weight and watch TV. But it's just I think that some of and there's some really I'm gonna tell you a couple of really creepy ones. Oh my God, if Disney ever makes these into shows, hey Kathy, um, if Disney ever makes any of these into movies, most of it'll be gone. So the first one is the Juniper Tree. Now I'm not real sure what it's about, but it was one of the dark ones. Now get you can Google it. Someone said Google it, or if you know the story, you can put it in chat. The next one leaves nothing to the imagination. It's called Penta of the Chopped Off Hands. Just does what it says on the tin. Exactly what it said in the title. I was like, what? Why? Oh, I've never read Dealing with Dragons, Angela. I will have to look that up. And another one is The Robber Bridegroom. Oh, that was bad. I was like, oh my God, this was horrible. I was reading it and I was like, I'm like, why? How are these fairy? Again, fairy tales for the you know, back in the day. Back in the day, people saw such horrible stuff in their everyday lives. They had to go one step more to pass down a story. These Princess Leia. And here's the thing: a lot of So a lot of these fairy tales are centuries old. They were passed down a long time ago. Now, they were rewritten and put into uh, books by people who could write, people who had education, so the elite. So their versions of the story was their version. They wrote it as the story, but then they put in what they thought should happen. Like they changed it up a little bit, not even sanitize it because was it the Grimm brothers, the Brothers Grimm? They didn't really much sanitize it, but they put their own twist on it. So it's not really obviously historical accurate writing of the actual fairy tale. It's the things they put in, and a lot of it was, misogyny, because that. Hey, Antica did that. Um, yes, we're having a deep conversation about fairy tales. How they freak me out. They don't freak me out, but I just, when you look deeper into them, they're very, and they are dark. And like I said, I suppose they're dark because people had lived through such hellish times, they had to find something heller, more hellish than what they actually lived through to try to, you know, get people to listen. But a lot of these fairy tales were transcribed and translated and adapted by poets and aristocrats and wealthy upper class. So, it was like, well, let's tell the poor how to live, shall we? Let's teach the poor. It's all right, okay. And I found that interesting that a lot of the people who translated and transcribed the fairy tales were actually because they had educations and they would write and they were poets. So they were all these fancy people and, just very rich, elite that transcribed these and translated these fairy tales.
Yeah, because people were kept from having educations or being
Yep.
able to do that stuff because they wanted them to be controlled. And that was the only way. If you don't have knowledge, then they can control you.
Right. Correct.
And, there were only special people that transcribed things.
Yeah. Um, and the thing is, when actual historians went back and looked at the actual fairy tales, the actual origin story of the fairy tale, it was like I said previous, a lot of it was like the man saving the young maiden and and she was trapped in a house or in a tower and she fell asleep and her step family was so awful to her. So a lot of these people, young ladies were saved, I guess, you know, from their destiny or from their life. Come to find out, when the historians did a lot of research on the origin or the actual original stories and the folk tales that influenced these stories, girls were just as much heroes as boys were in these stories. Girls were just because a lot of times it's like the male character, the male lead. But when the historians went back to look, a lot of times it was the equal. They were equals. Girls were just girls were winning just as much as the boys were in these fairy tales, which I thought was interesting. It was very because they can't say that oh, Girl with the Steel was terrifying. Um, you can't say that, oh, well, this young lady saved herself. She didn't need, Prince Dudu to come over here and help her, you know. But in a lot of the original stories, the girls were like saving themselves, you know, doing it for themselves. And so it's just funny how I found that when they were rewritten or they were transcribed and translated from their origin stories, they were quite, you know, it was quite interesting that they kind of left out the girl stories where the girls were the heroes. So, hey, Chicago lady, hey, Jeannie, Peter Pumpkin, Peter Pumpkin Eater couldn't keep her, so he put her in a pumpkin shell. Yeah, sounds like imprisonment. And how tiny was she? It must have been either a big pumpkin or a tiny woman. I'm just saying. How does that work? So yeah, I just found them fascinating, and I mean, do you have any fairy tales, Daniel, that actually scared the poop out of you? Like you were just like, dang,
Bigfoot.
fairy tale.
That one fairy tale about Bigfoot.
Right. When you smell them.
No, not that I remember anything scaring me.
Do you have one that sticks out in your mind? Like you always remember
Hansel
this
and
fairy tale?
Gretel.
Yeah,
She
that
was
was one.
gonna pick their bones clean, and she was fattening them up for the slaughter. I mean,
I mean, cannibalism, imprisonment,
and then that
you
turned
know.
very mean, and they ended up throwing her in a fire.
Well, I mean, you kind of can't. And this is the thing. This
Well,
is
if you're
again
trying
the
to escape death, you're going to, and
yeah,
that's always been in any movie too, is
yeah,
getting the bad person to finally end up being killed by the person they're trying to kill. You know what I mean?
right, yeah,
So, I mean, that goes along right with it. And also, any of these stories over the centuries have changed because different tribes of people are different. You intermingle, the people are intermingling, and they're bringing their own versions of different things, and then they get retold and things added in and all that stuff.
right, exactly. Oh yeah. See, this is again what I didn't realize either until I've never watched the film The Little Mermaid. Um, but I always knew it was happy and jolly and but then I read a little bit about it and I was like, ooh.
I've never actually read the story.
No, I read a little bit. I mean, I read about the story. I didn't read the story.
So does she kick the bucket or something?
Um, and the true ending, did the witch eat him? Probably. She probably had a good old snack there with them two little kids. I don't know. I don't know the original one.
No,
I just
because
know.
they throw her in the fire.
Well, also, I think I do remember a part where the- stop me if you've heard this, but correct me if I'm wrong, but where they were in this cage and she kept feeding them, but they kept, because she couldn't see that well, they kept showing her, giving her a chicken bone to feel, and she kept thinking that was their hand or their finger or something.
Yeah.
Like, lady, you're gonna have to have a better plan than that. If you're gonna have to put glasses on if you're gonna try to
Telling you
feed
what,
kids.
those kids were smart. Bide their time to get out there, cook that witch.
Yeah. Yeah, Moana does rock. I've not seen that either, but I have seen is Brave. And that little girl was something else. That little redheaded girl, Brave. Oof, child. I've seen that. But I need to watch them because I don't really watch a lot of Disney. It's like I also don't read Harry Potter. I also don't, you know what I mean? Like there's things I just don't do because I was past the age of watching them. Like I've seen The Lion King, Oz, and Beauty and the Beast, which I cried. And then I saw the live version, and there was a lot of singing, and like it was almost like a musical. And you know how I feel about that.
She don't like them. She don't like them at all.
I don't put a music. I went to the theater and the cinema and watched it. Was sitting there, and all of a sudden they start busting out a song, and I was like, okay, one song's all right. Then they start. I was like, everybody's singing. The whole thing was like it was a singing thing, and I was like, oh my god. I prefer the cartoon. They didn't sing as much because you don't like a musical. I'm telling you right now, fight me. I don't like musicals. Yeah. Chicago Lady just reads mysteries. Well, I mean, that's kind of like modern day. Like, I think someone had said something about is our something the new fairy tales. I feel
Conspiracy
like
theories.
conspiracy theories are the new fairy tales. Yes, but I also feel like true crime stories are too. Cautionary tales. You know. Um. Oh, but it's sad.
Oh my God. Woo!
Wow. Woo, that's deep.
I'm gonna ban myself from not that I read them, but
I know.
Christmas.
You were depressed before, you are now.
I no
And
longer
that's
want to
the
be
thing.
merman.
And that's the thing. And that's the things when you start to really look into stuff, you're like, oh, oh, a mood killer. That'll do it.
Thanks, Angela.
He ain't never gonna be the same, Angela. You just messed him up. He ain't even gonna look at Ariel the same again. He gonna be like, you evil. So, you ain't no good. It's so funny, but it is, and it's with any of them, and you start to look into them, and you're like, God, I mean, how did that get past them? Well, I mean, they don't put that in the movie, but that's like, what is it? What's the one with? Um, it was the Wicked Stepmother. It was about her. What was it called?
Cinderella.
No, Angelina Jolie played her.
Oh, uh, yeah, gotcha. Maleficent. Maleficent?
Yes, that. It's like
Well,
it's
actually,
like
in the story, she wasn't a wicked stepmother. She's the one that put the curse upon her.
yes, yeah. That's it. I've not seen. I've watched that now. See, I've seen that. I
Now,
thought it was
what
good.
it's like in the real story, I have no idea.
I mean, I think she gave a. I think they gave poor Melissa a bad rap.
She was just
I
mad
think
because she
she
wasn't invited.
right. She mad 'cause she had to wear that hat with the horns or something. I'd be pissed off. I had to wear that all day. Be mad. Like this is painful. I'm gonna hate everybody. Now I think she did look flawless, but and it's just. I just thought that we had to talk because it's spooky season, and I wanted to do something spooky, but not all the way spooky. Well, I mean, but hell, they're spooky. Let's be honest.
She wanted to go from spooky to bloody.
Yeah, or
Murder, cannibalism,
yeah, exactly. It,
abuse by step parents. I mean,
right. Yeah,
we got it
it's like
all.
a bad telenovela. It's like a bad Jerry Springer show. Honestly, it's just so.
Well,
It's like you're like,
think about if any authors wrote those kind of stories now for children.
they'd be banned.
We find them such great classics and wonderful and all that. You know what I mean? But if modern day authors wrote them like those stories that are told like that,
Right,
do you
and
think
took him to
that
Penguin
would
House and
happen?
said, yeah, it took him to Penguin House and said, I'd like you to publish this. And they'd be like, you sure this is for kids? Oh yeah, 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 it is. Yeah, it teaches them a lesson. Yeah, okay. Yeah, see, I've never read Harry Potter, and that's uh because they changed the name over there. It was here. It's called Harry Potter, and y'all call it over there the Philosopher's Stone. It's not called that over here.
Yeah, sorcerers.
Um, yes, sorcerer, but they didn't want to use the term sorcerer in the United States. All right, that's what I heard. But it's not called. It's actually the Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah, I've never read any of them or seen the movies.
But they'll do that with a lot of things, with the movies and stuff when they send them over to different foreign countries.
Yeah,
The titles get changed.
yeah. And it's just, and yeah. I mean, Harry Potter ain't like light and fluffy and light. Uh, so and and it's just like even what was the one I was listening to? The Little Orphan Annie. W- Why? Oh, is Philosopher's Stone? I didn't think it was. I thought it was a Sorcerer's uh, Stone was the UK one. But again, I don't know a lot about Harry Potter, so I couldn't tell you. Um, so uh, what I here's a weird one. Okay, and it's not necessarily. It's I think it's a musical as well. Little Orphan Annie. Is that a musical or something,
Um,
or just a
yes,
play?
there is a musical, yeah,
Okay.
amongst
Well,
other
I
things. I mean, she was a
would that
comic
play be
strip and all that stuff.
right? Okay, so would that be if you were making that comic strip today? Would that fly?
As in how?
As in just some old man adopting a young girl from an orphanage. I just find that bizarre. But that's just my take on it.
I don't know because there are single people who do adopt.
No, I know. I just think it's like this old rich guy, and he goes to. I just find the whole thing bizarre. And I'm not saying single people can't adopt people. I just think, and she calls him Daddy Warbucks. It's just the whole thing creeps me out. I just
Call him Daddy Warbucks too if he'd adopt me with all that money.
right. Well, yes, I'm also an adult, so I
Daddy
would definitely call.
Warbucks.
Hey, Daddy.
Daddy, can I have some money?
Hey there, Donna. The servers went down. How dare they? I'd be like, yay, no work. My servers went down. Woo. Um, the strike hex says they've heard about it. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. it- I- It's just that these stories have been passed down. Obviously, kids are still reading them. And oh, she's the one that sorry, Latana. Now that's a scary fairy tale right there. Having them call you up, girl. Tell them the phones don't work either. Stop calling me.
We're going
Um,
building character.
I don't need. Ladonna's like, I don't need my character. Yeah, and some are quite creepy. And I just like I said, I when it was spooky season. I think we're gonna try to do something spooky I would like to do something spooky every week if I can think of find great stories. Next week will be about the Tory government, which is very spooky. And
Mine's next week.
oh, I mean the week after, yeah. Sorry, there's a cat here. Guess who woke up? Chica. So I just thought maybe, this was creepy. We'll start the creepy off season. I was going to say start it off small, but or start it off light, but clearly it's not that light, especially in the Little Mermaid situation. It wasn't that light.
We here aim to make things fun and laughable.
Yeah.
I started off with mad gassers and
Oh,
horrific tornadoes. Now we've moved into cannibalism of
yeah.
children and, all kinds of fun things like that.
Oh yeah, the Twilight Zone. Some of the stories they came up with was absolutely amazing. Just the far out stuff they used to. All right, Chica. Used to do the story zone on the Twilight Zone, and just and I every. Sorry, y'all. That's Chica shaking the table. We went along for a ride. It's just I just think that I know. Sorry. Here, come here. Let me. There we go. Because it's a little card
It's
table. And
spooky.
it's spooky season. This hoe is spooky right here. Go on now. Get. Um, she's spooky. Um, and I just wanted to, because I just thought I was reading about him. I don't know where came across the article, and I was like, these are bad.
Yeah, I remember getting a Grimm's Brother book. I thought, oh,
Right.
it's fairy, the fairy tale. I can learn more.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the? It's not quite how I remember it.
I know it's not, and that's the thing. And I think that,
But I
and
was also
again,
that way with The Wizard of Oz. When I actually read
right.
the book, I was so used to the movie because that's all I'd ever seen. And I didn't read the book till I was older. And I'm like, this there's quite a bit of difference here.
I mean, that's with any book. Obviously, the film kind of does go, or the film is so much different than the book. But I mean, can you imagine if they put that stuff in the film? Like if they had made the film and put that stuff in the
Well,
Wizard of Oz?
that's like Stephen King.
Yeah.
The Pet Cemetery,
Oh,
I read that, and to me it was so much more gruesome
but-
read the book than the movie. I've never really, except for The Green Mile, I've never really liked any movies that have made from Stephen King
no.
stuff. And but that book stuck with me because of my imagination and the way that it was written and explained. You could see and smell and all the kind of stuff
Yeah.
from the books, and then the movie just didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't as scary as what the actual book was, or
Because it's your
creepy.
imagination.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, Tammy. That's okay. You can rewatch it on replay. We're talking about the fog. Oh God, I remember the fog. That and oh, what was the other one? Oh, it was a I can't remember it, but I just I think all the old and books. Well, I read a lot. I mean, I haven't read a lot lately, but I can read. I can devour a book, and I like to read them because, like I said, Stephen King novels, you in your head make it what you want it to be.
Well, I stopped watching or reading any of that stuff because life is bad enough.
Right?
I don't need to read any more of that stuff to even
Yeah.
bring me down even more, because I mean, what's going on nowadays is quite plenty,
Right. And
quite
this is why I don't watch horror. People ask me, why don't you like horror films? That's like, because I can open my window and look out the damn window, turn the news on. I'm horrified. So I don't need any help.
up and away and not think about that stuff. So I need Disney, the Disney version of things.
Right. You
You
want the
know what I mean?
sanitized,
Something to,
clean, happy version.
yeah.
And oh, Heather, Amityville Horror, that freaked me out. That was the one that got me. And that was horrible. That was the most scariest thing I ever saw. And I can't to this day watch it now. But I don't, again, like I said, but in a way, it's probably good that they're sanitized a little bit. You know, we were like, oh, should they be sanitized? It's like, yes, let these children have some nice moments in their life because once they grow up, it ain't gonna be as happy and fluffy no more. Um, so yeah. So all right, guys, we're getting to the top of the hour. I'm glad you all stopped in to talk about fairy tales with us. And I can't wait to find out what Daniel has next week on his channel. He won't tell me until the day of.
I can't wait to find out neither.
But I appreciate y'all. Yeah, Poltergeist scares me too. See, I saw all these movies. That's dumb because they were so scary. Um, Thanks so much, everybody, for popping in. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Go follow Daniel if you're not already following him. I'm sure you are. And we will see you next week. You guys take care and have a great rest of your week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.